beyond all of this, I think what we want to do is how can we make the data teams more effective? I think that's the key thing. It's about how can they all collaborate together in their own spaces, and how do we bridge all of those gaps? I think it's more of that problem statement. How you do it is different. Like you have all of this data quality, profiling, you have data governance, lineage, all of that is there. But the ultimate goal is how do you make things very easy for somebody to like do their daily job? And I think that's the most interesting thing. I'm Arthi and I'm from Bangalore. I think it was architecture that sort of led me to design. Those days it was like either you do medicine or engineering, and I didn't want to do both. And this seemed like a really nice thing because I had this inclination towards art right from the beginning. So this seemed like a nice way. And with architecture, you kind of understand like spaces and how you do your concepts to schemas and, how you visualize everything. And I think that's where, after you finish it was more of a, okay, now what do I do? I love architecture. All of that is great. But then there's instant gratification. That's kind of, what got me into like design space for like software design and all of that. And I think with that background, it kind of helps because you're kind of from a traditional design background in some sense. Back in the days, it was like, you never had like a UX design course or any of that. And then you kind of gradually build over it. And, it was a very nice way to like come into this space and explore and see how everything is. Actually, I still remember from the previous company that I was with. And at that time, we were like kind of looking at competition and other, not necessarily competition, somewhere to like look for inspiration as well. And then I remember seeing screenshots of Atlan. And that was like, oh, this is really nice, the way they're doing it, it's very nice. That's one thing that happened. And then there was like, talent teams happened to reach out, right? Like a few months later, and they were like, okay, do you want to try it? And I was like, oh, what a coincidence that, I just happened to see something which I really liked. And then, and then I had a conversation with, the standard process of like, talking to everybody here during the interview calls. And what I really liked is the passion and the energy that came out throughout the interview cycle with every single person I interacted. It was not just the design team or product team, right from talent team to everyone. I think that kind of felt like, it's a very different culture, and this is the place where you can actually make an impact. And I think that's probably what made me say, yes, I'm going to switch. And it was a big switch because from all my life of enterprise and, those kind of companies to a startup, which was like the first time in startups. So big companies, you would have like, you're always like working towards one particular task and then you're like focusing on just the roadmap. But here we have like these ways where you do that, which is primary, and you also have opportunities to experiment. You have a problem that you think you found and then you're like trying to solve that, and it can, that's like really good because for designers, for anybody who's creative, who's trying to solve problems, I think that's an opportunity to keep your creative juices flowing and see how you can solve problems. And eventually what we do is we find something interesting from there and then we integrate it with the product. So I think that's an interesting thing that you did. So it kind of feels like a research and plays academic plus like, a space where you can you're actually getting real work done as well.
Sure.
We have a lot of big ticket items, right? We have things like data governance, which is huge. And then we have data lineage. And these are problem areas which are like really massive, especially if you take lineage, you're talking about scale, you're talking about how can you make data more visible and easy to read and comprehend. And I think that's like, you're kind of giving an entire landscape of how your data is and you're visualizing it. So that's the like big problem. I think it's just that we work as a single team and there are like, boundaries as such, or, things like, this is this department. If I'm not able to do it, I just pass it on to somebody. But no, everybody works together. It's more about, if you're not able to do it, okay, let me see what I can do to, work with you to see how we can solve it. So I think that's one of the key things that I would say. And of course, energy. That's just there everywhere, and everybody's like passionate about what they want to do, and everybody wants to make a difference. And I think that's a really good thing. And it's all about like collaboration, right? There are no like boundaries as such, say, this particular let's say examples of like either modules or departments, and then they're like, you kind of do a lot of cross collaboration, which is really nice. Basically, if you sum it up, it's more about like saying, we all act as one team. And I think that's like the core thing about Atlan. And then specifically in terms of design, I think I look for somebody who is like thinking about depth of solutions and also like, care and attention to details. I think those are like this super important things, and the rest will follow. Once you have these three things, I think you will definitely, we can always like, get people to upskill. We can work with people beyond that. But these are like core, and high integrity which is like another thing with Atlan as such. So I think we need people who come in here. And we also look for people who can raise the bar of the current team. We really, really want people who are, going to take the team to the next level. So we want to look for somebody who's better than who we are.